Hey, I'm Adam. I'm 23 years old, and I'm still trying to finish high school. My family has always been caring and loving, but we barely made enough money for a comfortable living. My dad worked several jobs just to keep us afloat, and my mum worked a lot too. I didn't even have enough time to think about my grades or school. I decided to find some unofficial work. I still went to school, and afterwards, I would work small jobs, like loading crates or helping my mum with her janitorial work. I tried a lot of different jobs during this time. All the while, my teachers would get angry at me for being so far behind with my grades and assignments. So, I decided to not bother with them anymore and to just drop out of school. I had enough money to help my family, and I even had a little left over for myself. As soon as I turned 18, I found a job at a metal factory, and since, I've already had 2 years of work experience under my belt. I learned the job fast, I worked hard, and didn't talk much. A perfect worker. Soon, I got so useful that my boss let me browse through my phone while there was nothing to do. It was a big privilege. During my free time, I'd hang out with my friends, many of whom were musicians, so a lot of the time it was at concerts and, well, bars. My only passion was soccer. I would watch every game and championship very closely, and that was my escape from my life's troubles. Sadly, my father passed away. We were at the hospital, me, my mum, and my siblings. We were all crying and trying to make sense of everything. I promised to bring in as much money as I could, but my mum suddenly stopped me and said, "Adam, don't ruin your life. This is not what your father would have wanted for you. Go back to school. I'm begging you." I didn't want to, but I realized that my mum was right. So, I returned to school, reducing my hours at the factory instead of quitting altogether. My first day at school was weird. The teacher introduced me in front of the entire class, and everyone was just staring at me like I was an alien. She asked me to tell everyone a little bit about myself, and I said, "Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm old." Some people giggled, but most of them were just staring, weirded out. During my first days, nobody would talk to me, and I was okay with that. I would just stare out the window during breaks. One day, a group of guys and girls came up to me and started asking me why I was going to school at my age. I answered with cheesy jokes like, "Oh, I just forgot about school one day," and then was like, "Oh yeah, school, I should go there." People giggled and started asking a lot of questions about my jobs and stuff. I guess I got kind of popular. Too popular. One girl in particular liked me and tried to sit with me during any subject we had together, or in the cafeteria. She was asking a lot about me, and I answered with my usual cheesy jokes, and she'd laugh way too hard at them. I didn't want any problems, so I tried to sit away from her and limit our chats, without hurting her feelings. But every time I sat away, she would find me and sit right next to me, like a yo-yo. Work sent me a little curveball too. At my usual late shift, my boss came to me, patted me on the shoulder, and said, "Adam, how about a raise?" I said, "Yeah, that would be nice." And he told me how much I could earn, and then he ended with, "Of course, you'd have to return to work full time." I said I couldn't do that, because I had school. His smile immediately changed to a frown. "Okay, then you can't use your phone during your shift anymore." Uh-oh. My grades at school weren't great, because I had to balance it with work. So I was failing everywhere, at school and at my work. I was waking up, going to school, then to work right afterwards, and I only slept for like 3 to 5 hours every day. Even on the weekends, I couldn't pay attention in school or at work. Teachers were understanding of my situation, but they also noticed how much this girl was clinging to me, and they were suspiciously looking at us every time we sat together. Also, every time I saw my boss at work, he would say something like, "You're getting slower, Adam. You should be grateful that I'm still letting you work here." After the 100th time of him saying something like that, I stood up and said, "Okay, bye then." As I was walking away, he followed me and saying, "Come on, Adam. You know you won't find anything better. You should be grateful for what you have." At this point, I snapped and shouted at him with some not very nice words. But his words stuck with me, like how he said, "You know you won't find anything better." I took it too close to heart, and stopped going to school too. Instead, I was spending a lot of time alone, and I'm shameful to say that most of this time was at bars. My friends started trying to get a hold of me, because at one point I disappeared for an entire week. One day, they came to one of the bars I frequented. I guess I was pretty predictable. It was the best bar for watching soccer. They started asking what I was doing and why I wasn't answering my phone. I told them everything. I said that I didn't see any future for myself. They showed me the screen and said, "How about that?" I said, "What do you mean?" They said that I know soccer better than anyone else, and maybe I could make a career out of it somehow. I thought about it and remembered that I wanted to be a sportcaster for my entire life. It was then that I decided that I wanted to finish school and study journalism, and I wanted to specialize in sports. I talked about this with my mum, and she was so happy to hear that I finally saw a path in my life, and that Dad would be really proud of me. The only thing he wanted for me was to be happy and to not have a life like he did. When I returned to school, my teachers were mad at me, and I was called to the principal's office. She asked me to just not disappear like that again. I told her everything, about work and my sleep cycle, and even about that girl that was making it difficult for me. She listened and was very understanding. She said that I could work as a janitor at our school after study hours, and that everybody would help me with it. But I had to show up and actually study. I agreed. It wasn't easy, but I studied hard and cleaned the school afterwards. I got much more sleep and kept okay grades. I kept doing it for 2 years, with mixed results. But I never missed a day of school, even when I was sick. And I'm almost finished with school now. I can't believe it. Everyone's so supportive of me and are trying to help me find a good college. My message to you is to keep believing that everything will be alright, even if it's really bad at the moment. Don't give up on your life. Share this story with anyone who's ever given up on themselves or thinks there's no solution. Nobody should ever give up.